All I know of Azul from Twisted-Wonderland is the fact that he's from Octagonal, he's twisted from Ursula, I think that's how you pronounce her name, and also he used to be bullied in the past, which is a form of insecurity for him, or at least he has low self-esteem because of it. But I'm excited to check it out, and special thanks to my P members on YouTube, you know who you are. Abyss. Ooh, I like the song. I do like the fact that, actually, let me continue. Okay, now I really want to talk about it. I can't stop myself. So there is obviously, this is probably referring to like the king, Ariel's father, I believe, if we're thinking of Little Mermaid. But this one, and then also, where is it? Not that. It's the bubbles part. Where is the bubbles part? I think it was, oh yeah, right here. I'm pretty sure this isn't really in, yeah, it's not in the Little Mermaid movie, but this is probably referring to the other Little Mermaid story where Ariel essentially turns into bubbles. I think that's the one that was talked about in Full Moon o Sagashite, if you know that anime, because they did talk about it in there about the Little Mermaid story. It's not obviously the Disney version, but I do wonder if it's like referring to that particular version when they're showing the bubbles, which I thought was really interesting. Considering that this is a game made by Disney, I didn't think that it would refer to that kind of thing. But yeah, let's continue. And obviously his contracts that he's obsessed with for all eternity. Now I do remember that he wanted revenge by taking power from others, which is why he's so obsessed with having contracts. So it really fits his line when he says, whenever my infinite desires come to fruition, I feel the need to trample others. In some ways, it's quite ironic because he himself was bullied, and yet he wants to bully others to feel the need of importance and, you know, strength and power. Obviously, he doesn't probably do it to the extent that his bullies actually did, since he does contracts, which kind of makes it sort of fair, maybe, depending on how you look at it. But still, he clearly has a need or desire to want to trample on others and steal the power that they have so that he doesn't feel like he's in any particular danger or at a disadvantage, since he wants to be happy, as he says. And also to know the truth, because if you're in power, then you will know the truth eventually, one way or the other. Whether it's a positive thing or not is something I do not know. Yes, give me your poor heart. So I assume the kids right here are either himself, which I assume this one right here on the left earlier was him, and then this one is maybe the bully. Yeah, to him it's something to be shameful of. You know, interestingly enough, I find it interesting that he, you know, instead of, you know, overcoming that, obviously it's not really easy to overcome such events when you're a kid, when you're the most impressionable, and especially considering that he says he wants the scream to not be exposed. He thinks it's so shameful that it's like the most embarrassing thing in the world, that it's like a shameful thing for him. In some ways, it's kind of like when you accidentally drip a droplet of ink onto a paper and then you try to like write over it to cover up the mistake. Maybe that's how he kind of feels. So I do wonder if those weaknesses he's talking about are like, for example, the photo that was in the museum of his elementary school self, and that's what he means by scattering them, like a literal thing, or if it's something that's more of a metaphorical way that he actually peeled away the weaknesses and scattered them. Or then again, he does say dressing myself up, so I guess maybe it's the metaphorical way where it's like trying to compensate for the insecurity you have by overdoing it with how you act and how you dress on the outside or something along those lines. And that's also, I want to be stronger than anyone else, clearly emphasizing the way that he wanted to get revenge by taking away power from others. And if he can't, then that bothers him when he no longer has the power to control the situation. I feel like he's probably the type of character, and please correct me if I'm wrong since I only watched the summary video of this, but he seems like the type of character who really can't like handle huge change. Like if something big happens, then it's probably very difficult for him to stay calm in such a situation, or maybe is the type to have a breakdown literally if something is out of his control and he just can't pull himself together as much. I want everything right now. I do wonder if in, I think it was it book 3? I think it was book 3, right? For Octavianel with Azul's Overblot. I believe that was the case. But I wonder if the everything part that he mentions is more about control over everything rather than the actual wanting to own it. Rather than that's more like I want power over that. I assume this is the fountain pen he has, this thing. Because I remember you guys told me that in order to overblot, you need the pen to control your blotting. But obviously if it overflows too much to a point where you can't control it, then that's when they overblot. Gosh, this song is good. Makes me want to sway. Oh, the sea anemone. I remember it's the thing that popped up on their heads, right? When they, because they signed the contract for the study guides, I believe. I think it was study guides, right? I do think it's interesting that he wants to pluck away the pure desires people have. For example, I would like to be loved by that person. Does that mean that he also wants to be loved by someone, or maybe not? I do wonder if those pure desires that he probably had as a kid were destroyed by bullies, and he wants to also have that kind of power himself. Or maybe I'm thinking too deeply into it, who knows? I'll let you guys educate me on that. Especially since he calls them foolish flowers, I do wonder if he just thinks of himself, who, when he was younger, who clearly had, you know, pure desires, as foolish, especially after he got bullied. I do wonder what he got bullied for. This is probably talking about when they found out about his past, right? The past grabs onto my feet and they have the picture. And they're trying to grab the contracts. And that made him reach his breaking point where he's like in panic mode. And breakdown mode, probably. Oh man, okay, you know how I said Leona's my favorite? Well, he's definitely in second place. Like, look at that, it's so gorgeous, especially like, you guys know it yourself. I don't need to talk about it, you guys already know. But it's interesting, again, where he talks about needing more until he's sick of it. And he wants them to bow down to basically himself and beg for mercy with the contract. But I think what's most important is this particular line. Where is it? Right here. An enchanting dream of fantasy that sparkles and bewitches. Don't leave anything behind, turn it into sustenance. I think that line is the embodiment of who he actually is. Like, I think he knows it himself that the things he does is clearly like for a dream that he wants to achieve, which is, you know, to have power and whatnot. But what's interesting is that right here is that he wants more, he needs more until he's sick of it. So he knows that there's a point where, you know, you reach where you can't really get more. But he wants to reach that point, and maybe then he can probably stop, is maybe my assumption of what he actually wants, instead of continuing down the path that he currently or really was on at the time. Now let's see, it was right here, yeah. Gotta see his beautiful self, right? Ooh, look at all the octopus legs, I guess. I think that's it, right? Yes. So I actually quite like this song. And what I find the most fun about this is the fact that the song sounds so like swaying and like, you know, chill in some ways. But then the lyrics itself is filled with a lot of like insecurities and uncertainty and desperate in some ways. Like, he obviously is saying the things that he wants and is ashamed of, but at the same time, the lyrics are not very much chill and relaxed. It's a very negative view and outlook of what he wants and wants to do. The contrast between the two, I think, backs up the part where he says that he, what is it? There was a particular part when I talked about him overcompensating, of like protecting himself by, you know, dressing really too a lot and like acting in a certain way. And I think this song is a very good representation of that too, where it sounds really like, you know, chill, you know, great, and you're like so confident kind of music, but then the lyrics itself reflects a different story, and that difference between the two is essentially who Azul is from outside to inside, so to speak. In any case, be sure to click on the playlist right here on the screen and give this a like, comment below, subscribe and share so you can see more videos like this one. Bye!